Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into a really intense and frankly fascinating analysis of the Canadian family law system today. The core question? Justice denied? We're going to unpack what's been called the divorce industrial complex through the documented struggles of one man, Kyle McLean Smith. We're going to use his extremely personal, difficult journey navigating this massive bureaucracy to explore some really profound questions. Questions about justice, about institutional power, and what happens when the very systems designed to protect us seemingly turn against us. It's a compelling look at where personal trauma meets systemic legal theory, so let's dive in.
So I want to start things off by posing a pretty provocative question. Can the legal system actually make you an outlaw? Now, when we hear the word outlaw, right, our brains usually go straight to historical bandits, train robbers in the Wild West, or pirates out on the high seas. But what if we shift our perspective? What if we move away from those historical rebels and look at a modern, systemic context? What if the system itself is what constructs the outlaw?
In this modern context, an outlaw isn't a criminal at all. Instead, it's a citizen who has been effectively denied access to justice and legal representation. They exist entirely outside the system's protections. We're talking about an individual who hasn't broken the law, but the legal establishment has completely locked them out. It leaves them without a shield, without a voice, entirely defenseless against the state.
Section 1. The Modern Outlaw, a case study of systemic alienation.
To really grasp this rapid descent, if we trace Kyle's timeline, it's pretty shocking. In month 1, he does what anyone would do. He hires his initial legal counsel. But by month 2, he is inexplicably dropped by that counsel. Over the next several months, from month 3 to 6, he reaches out to over 200 different lawyers. 200. He's willing to pay via credit card, but he has absolutely zero success. Ultimately, from month 7 onward, he is forced to represent himself in court. It's this cascading bureaucratic failure of access.
And the real-world impact of being locked out like this is just staggering. Kyle's own records paint a really bleak picture of what this actually feels like on the ground. He stated, "I sold my condo for $10,000 so that I could speak to Emily's mother. I didn't have a lawyer to hand over my part of our condo." That really highlights the extreme lengths and the devastating financial losses Kyle claims he had to endure simply to try and navigate a system where he had no formal legal advocate.
Section 2. The divorce industrial complex, when family law becomes an industry. Based on his forced interactions with the courts, Kyle coined or utilizes this term, the divorce industrial complex. He defines it as a systemic, profit-driven structure within family law that allegedly drains resources and impoverishes vulnerable individuals. He argues that it's essentially a machine, and this machine isn't designed to resolve conflict. Rather, it's designed to extract capital from families during their absolute most fragile moments.
So let's break down the specific mechanics of this complex as Kyle perceives them. First, he claims it actively weaponizes a lack of family support, meaning if you don't have a built-in safety net, you are an easy target. It completely disregards the severe psychological toll that these proceedings take on a person. It heavily penalizes anyone who happens to fall outside standard socioeconomic norms. And, perhaps most intensely, he alleges it operates as domestic abuse scaled by the state itself. That is a heavy, heavy accusation about how the system functions.
Section 3. Weaponizing legal formalism, the machinery of the courts.
Now, there is a really stark contrast at play here regarding how the courts actually operate versus how we think they do. On one side, we have the ideal, due process. This is a sort of social contract focusing on finding the truth and ensuring fairness for everyone involved. But on the other side, we have legal formalism, which is a strict, rigid adherence to procedural rules. Kyle's framework argues that in family law, this formalism is actively weaponized. The rules themselves are used to obscure the truth, drain the opposing party's resources, and coerce outcomes, rather than actually achieve justice.
To make this super concrete, here are the documented instances of legal formalism being used against Kyle, from his perspective. He was forced to perform complex legal duties remotely while under extreme duress. He was literally physically locked out of his own condo during the proceedings. He was subjected to threats of jail time from a judge for April 2025. And, amidst all of this procedural maneuvering, he was denied basic confirmation of his ex-partner's safety. In his view, the procedure entirely overrode the human element.
Section 4. The Charter Challenge Strategy, a strategic countermeasure.
Okay, so you might be wondering, how does an individual even begin to fight back against such a massive, entrenched system? Well, Kyle's foundational strategy relies on a concept called a Schelling point.
This is actually a game theory concept. It represents a focal point where people will naturally tend to coordinate their behavior, even if they aren't communicating directly. Kyle believes that fighting this systemic issue requires creating a massive, highly visible Schelling point for all of society to naturally rally around.
And here is his exact roadmap for that strategy. Step 1 is to anchor his grievances not just in standard family law, but in foundational, historical civil rights, things like the Magna Carta and the 1869 Bill of Rights. Step 2 is securing a specialized legal team that actually has the capability and willingness to take on the federal government. Then Step 3 is to launch a charter challenge. This acts as a highly visible icebreaker case. It serves as that Schelling point to force accountability onto massive entities like the Bar Association and the RCMP.
Section 5. Sparking societal healing. From personal trauma to systemic reform.
So, what happens if this charter challenge actually succeeds? What are the broader societal shifts that Kyle argues will follow? First off, demanding real, tangible, institutional accountability for systemic abuses. Second, promoting what he calls fifth-wave feminism, which is a movement he centers on mutual, personal accountability. Third, stepping in and preventing the legal system from purposefully turning ordinary citizens into low-functioning, alienated outliers. And finally, restoring the fundamental integrity and safety of the nuclear family.
Actually, Kyle's entire thesis perfectly boils down to this one quote. Once we have the divorce industrial complex healed, everything else is a cakewalk. He firmly believes that family law, and specifically the way the state handles the dissolution of families, is the absolute root cause of much of our broader societal dysfunction. Essentially, fix the root and the rest follows naturally.
Now, the core lesson you should really take away from this explainer today is this. The balance between institutional power and individual civil rights determines the health of a society. When the scales tip too far toward bureaucratic formalism and profit-driven institutions, everyday individuals get crushed, and society as a whole suffers the consequences. It's a delicate balance that affects all of us.
Which leaves us with a really unsettling question to ponder. What happens to a society when its institutions of justice alienate the very citizens they are meant to protect? It's a profound question, and one that Kyle McLean Smith's ongoing journey forces us to ask ourselves. Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer, and remember to keep questioning the systems around you.